Are you looking for affordable office space in Marion? The Professional Building, located at 685 Delaware Avenue, is the place for you. For more information, call 740-383-6803. Office space is now available. Again, telephone number 740-383-6803.
This is Scott Spears, and May 2nd, 2012 is a day that 93-year-old Marion resident Ruby Snyder will not soon forget. 2 teenage boys entered her home, tied her up, and had intentions on robbing her. But she outsmarted them using a medical alert bracelet. But I'll let Ruby tell this amazing tale. Joining me today, Ruby Snyder. Ruby, how are you?
Well, I'm better than I was then.
That was quite a day. I came in that day that happened, and I spoke with you a little bit that afternoon. So we'll talk about that. I'm so glad to see that you're doing well. Ruby, though, I want to talk a little bit about your backstory. When did you come to Marion? How long have you been here, and what did you do?
We came to Marion in, 53, I believe. And I've lived in my house 54 years in July.
And what was your profession in
I
Marion?
was a hairdresser.
And have you always liked Marion?
Pardon?
Have you always liked Marion?
Yes, I have. And in 82, 81, I went to Oklahoma. I closed my beauty shop. I went to Oklahoma to help take care of my father. Then he died the next year. That was in June. The next year, in October, I came back to Oklahoma, to Ohio. My mother came with me. She stayed with me 2 weeks. I had to take her back. And that winter, I didn't do anything until spring. I went back into the beauty profession, and I couldn't get any the clientele built back up. So I went into home health care, and I did home health care till I was 85 years old.
Why did you finally retire at 85?
Well, I thought I had worked long enough.
I think you're right. I think most people would agree. Now, Ruby, you're 93 now.
I'm 94 now.
94
in December.
Wow. What does 94 feel like?
Well, it's different than it was when I'm 93 because I wasn't with a walker like I am now.
So things have slowed down a little bit.
Yes, they have.
Do you like being 94?
That's kind of a hard question to ask. I don't know.
Well, it looks like you're doing okay to me, so that's good to hear. Was longevity something in your family? Did your mother and father?
My father was 93 when he passed away.
Is that right?
And my mother passed. She was 86 when she passed away.
So it's running your family.
Yes.
Ruby, I want to get to the bulk here because I think people want to hear about this, and I'm going to let you tell it in your own words. What happened the night of May 2nd, 2012, from start to finish? What happened?
Well, I heard a commotion, and I got up. I didn't turn any lights on, and I went to see if my motion light at the kitchen door outside was on, but it was not on. So I checked the front door. It was not on. There was nobody there. So I went back and I checked to see if there was anybody in my bedroom, and I didn't see anybody. I checked the light at the kitchen door for the motion light, and there was nobody there. So I went back to the front door, and somebody was there. As I started to open the door, and he grabbed me and held me, and I started to yell, and he said, "Don't holler," and he put his hand over my mouth. Then he asked me if I had drugs. I said, no, I didn't have drugs. Did I have money? I said, no, I didn't have money. Is that your car in the garage? I said, yes. Where are the keys? I said, well, they're on the letter holder in the kitchen there. And so they had me sit. So he cut my life alert, and then they had me, and I grabbed the button as it fell. they didn't know that. And so they had me sit in a chair in the living room, and he'd want to know where the button was. I said, well, I don't know. I suppose it's lost. They didn't know I had it. So they took me into the TV room and set me on the sofa there. And the one young fella pulled his mask off. That was, I could tell he was a very young fellow. And he opened the mini blind and opened the window, and the other guy started to work on the TV. And so then about that time, the alert came on. She said, Ruby, are you okay? I said, yes, I'm fine. And so she heard them say that they were going to kill me. And so she asked me again if I was okay. I said, yes, I'm okay. And then they started to tie my legs together with masking tape, grape tape, and also my hands. And I didn't have the life alert on my hand at that time anymore. And then taped my mouth. And so they took the TV out, and the life alert apparently alerted the police department. They surrounded the house. So when the guys started to go out, went out on the driveway to go and open the garage door, the police nabbed them.
I mean, it was an amazing story, Ruby. I've never heard anything like that. I want to ask you, if you had not caught that life alert necklace when they cut it, what do you think would have happened?
Well, they probably would have shot me. I don't know. They had guns. The guns they had lay in the kitchen floor in front of the TV. Apparently they were going to take the TV out the kitchen door and put it in the car.
When the life alert woman heard them threaten to kill you, was that because the life alert came on, or were they just threatening?
I don't know if I had touched it or if they had touched the box on my table where I had the TV setting.
When the life alert woman came over the box and said, "Are you okay?" and you said, "Yes, I am."
Yes, I'm fine.
Did you think?
She said, "Did you fall?" I said, "No, I didn't fall."
The fact that you told her you were okay and all this was going on, and you didn't know she was listening at the time.
No.
Did you think, there went my last chance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll never know how scared I was.
Well, I want to talk about that just a tiny bit. I don't want to go back to it, but did you think that was the end?
Well, no, I don't think I thought of that.
What was going through your mind?
That they were going to take my TV and take my car.
Mm.
They had asked for that.
It's like I said, it's quite a story, and it's an amazing story to hear again. Has this changed you in any way? This event?
Well, at first, it bothered me a lot. My daughter and her husband, they stayed with me a night, and then she said, "Well, Mother, you can't stay here anymore." She said, "You have to go home with us and stay with us." So I stayed with them, I'd say maybe a month or so. All of June and May, what was left of May. And then I said, well, in the meantime, we had looked for an apartment. They were going to move me into an apartment, and I had made my deposit on the apartment. And so I sort of got to thinking, well, Ginger had decided she was going to come over and she wanted to take care of me.
And that's your granddaughter?
That's my granddaughter, yes.
Right.
She lives in North Carolina. And so I said, well, I don't want to stay here anymore. I just want to go home. I said, I've only got one night, and Ginger will be here tomorrow night, and I'll be fine. And we had there was a lot of boxes, pot, material, dishes, everything was packed, ready to be sold, and the house was put up for sale. And we didn't get any contract on the house, just people looking. That was about the extent. And of course we had till September for that. And so I said, well, I don't want to sell. I just want to stay in my home. And I said, I don't want to move into an apartment. I said, I don't want to have to pay $600 and some dollars a month of rent when I've got my house. It's paid for. All I'm out of is taxes and insurance and the upkeep on it.
The first night you stayed in your house after the night when this happened, was that hard?
No, it didn't bother me. It really didn't, because I thought, well, there's so much stuff in here that they probably wouldn't bother. And I knew the guys were locked up. I knew that. So that didn't bother me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why is it so important for you at 94 to stay in your home?
Well, I have that house. My husband and I had that house built in '59. And that house is part of me. And I've done enough. My husband passed away in '75. And I have done an awful lot to that house. I've built a garage. I've put in a new kitchen. I've recarpeted the house. I've had 2 roofs put on that house. I've had 2 furnaces put in that house. And I put, the insurance company paid for my roof. I won $10,000 in the lottery.
You did?
Yes. So I told my daughter, I'm gonna, I wanted to have that roof checked, because I had it. I had it roofed at once before, just over the other. So I had my son-in-law get estimates, and the insurance company came out and they said, well, you've got a lot of wind damage, so we'll pay for the roof. So the money that I got off the lottery money, which was over $6,000, I'm going to say, well, since they're paying for the roof, I'm going to put new storm windows in my house. Well, so I filed income tax, and I had $6,000 left after federal and state. I got back all the state tax and most of the federal. And I saved that money, and that's when I had the new concrete drive and sidewalks put in last fall.
So you have a lot of time and effort put in that house.
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done an awful lot to it. I've recovered it. I bought new furniture. I bought a couple of new televisions and put in new kitchen stove and refrigerator. I've had that garage built since my husband's been gone.
You know, I know it's side note here, but that's interesting, Ruby. How did you win the $10,000? Was it a scratch off or lottery?
Mega Million.
Mega Million.
I had 4 numbers and the Mega Ball.
My goodness.
Or my Mega Plier, I guess you call it now.
Do you remember the year that was?
Yeah, 3 years, about 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years this June.
Oh, it's only.
I mean this March.
Now, were you sitting in your home watching television when these numbers came up?
But no, I got it out of the paper.
What did you think when you realized you'd won?
Well, I really didn't know, because I knew I had 4 numbers that came out in the paper in the Mega Plier. So we went to the ticket office, and when I asked, well, have I got any looking numbers here? And they checked it out. It said $10,000.
What did you think?
I said, oh my goodness, I didn't know what to think. We went to the car, got in the car, and they told us we could go to National City Bank and collect the money. We went there, and they said, no, you have to go to Columbus for that. So we went to Columbus for that, and they gave, the ticket office had a number in Columbus where we would go, and also Cleveland if we wanted to. So we went to Cleveland.
Wow.
And she said $6,000, something after taxes.
What an amazing life it's been. Ruby, I want to come back to the house for a minute. Have you ever met or talked to the woman from Medical Alert?
Yeah, she came out with some I don't know whether he was from the news or not, but anyway, they came out a day or 2 later, and she said, I'm the one that you called me. I said, oh, well, I'm so glad to meet. So they came in to talk to me.
What was it like to meet her?
Well, I was happy to meet her. I was happy to meet her, yes.
You said you did see the kids who were in your house and they were young, that one had pulled off his mask. When you knew they were so young and doing this, what did you think? Have you followed that story since then? What's happened to them?
Well, my attorney, prosecuting attorney, came out Of course, he had already talked to him. And one of those guys had said that they did work for me. Well, see, they come along in the wintertime. They want to know if they can shovel snow or rake leaves or something like that. But I wouldn't know which one was the one that did that.
Being that they're so young, I mean,
Yeah.
under 18, what is that? Does it make you leery of people of that age, or?
Well, it does. I just wonder, well, here they were. Where's their curfew? They were out after curfew at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Ruby, when you go through your daily life at 94 years old, are you any more afraid because of this?
No, I'm not afraid that I'm going to have trouble anymore, because I have got my granddaughter there, and they know somebody's there. See?
Is that, has that been a nice thing? I mean, the day before this happened, you were living alone. Is it nice now to have somebody living with you?
Yes, in one way, yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is it in another way not so good? Is it giving up your independence, or?
Well, yeah, sort of. But and now I'm to the point where I can't hardly do anything anymore. I spill things, I drop things, and I can't reach up high anymore for anything. And if I want coffee, I have to have her fix coffee for me, because I shake too much and spill the coffee, spill the water. I do that.
For an independent lady like you, Ruby, what's that like, the aging process?
Well, I don't really know what to say about that.
Yeah.
I often wonder, well, how much time do I have on this earth? I wonder about that.
I think a lot of people, at 94 years old, do you ever think about the end?
Do I think about what?
Do you think about the end of your life?
Yeah, I do.
Does it frighten you?
I know. I have told my granddaughter what to do if she should get up some morning and find me dead in my bed. My husband, he died in bed with a heart attack.
You know, Ruby, a lot of people fear death. I think it's the number one fear after public speaking in the United States. What would you say to somebody watching this right now who is scared to death to die? Because you aren't.
No, I'm not afraid to die.
Why? What would you say? What could you ease them by telling? Why aren't you afraid?
Well, I think I've lived a good life. I don't smoke and I don't drink. I don't party.
Do you attribute your long lifespan to not smoking and drinking and partying?
My husband was a heavy smoker. He didn't drink, but he smoked heavy. But you know, I was married once before, and I had 2 children. And my first husband was very abusive and cruel. And we were married about 11 years, and I divorced him. I thought, well, if we had a couple of children, we were married almost 3 years before I had my first child. And I thought, well, if we had a couple of children, maybe it would wake him up. But it didn't. It just kind of made things worse, I thought.
You know, a lot of people deal with abusive spouses and things of that nature.
And I thought, well, I don't have to live like that. I had my profession, and I could make a living. And you know what? I didn't want any child support.
Really?
No.
Why is that?
I did not want any child support. I don't know, for some reason or other, I just didn't want it. I suppose I was so independent that I wanted to prove to myself that I could make a living for myself and my children. But then I was only alone a year, and I got married again. I met a fellow. He was a deputy, worked for Glenn Obenauer at that time.
Would you get married again today?
No.
Why not?
No.
Why not?
Well, I'll tell you, after my husband died, I found out that I could do anything I wanted to do. If I wanted to buy a new car, I could. If I wanted to do something to the house, I mowed my own yard. I cleaned the gutters to the house, and I had that garage built. I could do all that without permission from a husband, or discussing it with a husband.
I understand. You know, Ruby, it's interesting because a lot of people, a big problem is women afraid to leave an abusive relationship. We had that poor girl murdered here in town not too long ago. What made you able to leave? What was the breaking point that you said, I can leave and I'm not coming back?
We were in Kentucky. Kentucky. He followed construction work. He installed sprinkler systems, and it took us all over the country. Started out in Oklahoma City, then Fort Worth, Texas, then Port Clinton, Ohio, and Michigan City, Indiana, and Paducah, Kentucky.
And so what was the reason you were able to leave?
Well, I knew I could make a living for myself. I knew that.
And it was just time to go.
Uh-huh.
A lot of women...
I had already lost everything I once felt for him.
Oh, so the feelings were gone.
Yeah, the feeling was gone, yes.
Did it take 11 years for the feeling to go away?
No.
No.
It took several years because I'd left him a couple of times, went back to Oklahoma, and he'd be different, and he'd give up his drinking and things like that. But that only lasted a little while. It was right back to the same old thing all again.
People go back, and it sounds like you went back a couple times.
I did.
Do you really believe, because that's the big question, that they are going to change?
Well, at one time I thought they would. And of course I had my son born in Michigan City, Indiana, or Paducah, Kentucky. And my daughter, when I got pregnant with her and it's time to deliver her, I went back to Oklahoma to have her, where my mother could take care of me and my little boy and the little girl.
You know, Ruby, one of the interesting things, I talk to a lot of senior citizens, and it's a wonderful thing to live a long life. But I talk to them, and as you've said, your husbands pass away, friends pass away, mothers, fathers are gone. Is that hard to lose people and be really the only one left?
Well, I have two brothers still living and one sister-in-law. And two sisters-in-laws. My youngest brother and his wife are still living, and then the next one, and then one of my sister that was married to brother next to me. I have 5 brothers younger than them. I'm the only girl in the family and the oldest.
Can you still do hair? Can you still do hair?
No.
Did you say you look?
No, I can't do my own hair.
I'm
sorry to say I feel bad about that because I used to do my own hair, but I can't do it anymore.
Well, you look great.
Well, I haven't done.
Well, I'll tell people this, and this is kind of an interesting story. I went over the day to visit you that this all happened, and you hadn't been to sleep, and it was a long day. But you look good. You would have never known anything would have happened. So I think that's a nice thing, a nice accolade. Ruby, what advice would you give to senior citizens who do live alone, who don't have medic alert, who might worry about living alone?
Well, I would advise them to get a medical alert. That is one thing I would advise them to do.
A lot of people feel it's something they don't want to do because it'll make them old. Was it hard for you?
No.
You just sign right up.
No. Mm-hmm.
I understand. Ruby, what's the next years of your life going to be like? What are you planning on doing?
Well, I plan on staying in my home, and I'm on signature now. I have nurses come in, and I'm on mobile wheels. I'm on that, and then I have a lady come in to give me a bath once a week. I can still do a little bit of cooking. Now today, I'll tell you, I hate to tell you this, but I fixed a roast, and I peeled potatoes and carrots, and I made gravy, but she mashed the potatoes and the roast, I sliced it up.
Well, that's not bad. It sounds like you did the majority of the work.
And then, for breakfast, usually I'll help myself to a bowl of cereal or maybe a piece of toast. I can do that, and sometimes if I have to, if I'm not too shaky, I can fix myself an egg.
At 94 years old, is there anything you still want to do? Something you didn't do that you want to do?
I don't think so.
Done it all?
And, in 91, I took a trip to the Holy Land.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? What was that trip like?
Oh, it was very interesting and educational.
Why did you want to go to the Holy Land?
Well, there was we were both in home health care, and she approached me. She said she'd like to go to the Holy Land. Are you and I going? I said, well, okay. And of course I had the money saved up for it, but as it turned out, she didn't go because she was at the Moose Lodge and she fell and broke her leg.
Oh. That'll stop you.
So she could. So I went anyway.
What I imagine you must have learned a lot, but for the people who haven't been, because that's a fascinating trip, what would you say was the most interesting thing you learned on that trip?
To Gethsemane.
Now, what does that mean?
Well, you don't dare you wear dress clothes. Men wear hats.
And you should be able.
And you think that I always thought Gethsemane was a great big place, but it's not any bigger than maybe our Myers store or Walmart.
Ruby, after just sitting here, I've learned so much. A trip to the Holy Land, an abusive husband, a good second marriage, winning the lottery, having this happen this past year, this home invasion where you outsmarted the kids. What an amazing story. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but when you do leave us, how would you like people to remember you?
Remember me as I outsmarted the guys.
You did. And I tell you what, Ruby, that should be first line of the obituary years from now, because I think you got plenty of steam left. I think you'll make 100, maybe then some. Ruby, it's always my pleasure to speak with you, and I thank you very much for coming in and talking. Ruby?
Of course, like I didn't tell you, when my husband passed away, we only paid $12,000 for that house. New, we had it built. Well, when he passed away, I had it checked out. There was an existing loan on it of $7,800. So see, it wasn't even half paid for it, but our payments were $74 a month.
Wow.
And by the time I finished paying for it, they went up to $105, which wasn't bad. I could still make the payments and live there and pay all the bills and do to the house what I wanted to do to it.
And you've done all right.
I did all right, and I bought 4 new cars.
I want to ask you this, Ruby, before we get out of here, because a lot of people get lottery fever, and you're a winner. Was there anything you did special? Is there anything, advice you can give somebody on how to play the numbers? Did you have a system?
No, I didn't have a system.
You just put the numbers down?
I just picked the numbers,
Well, Ruby, as I say, it's always my pleasure to speak with you. I enjoy it a lot. You're definitely a true survivor, and I thank you for coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Ruby Snyder, one of a kind. Take care.